The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
Good evening and welcome to Africa World Hour, your prime destination for the latest news and in-depth analysis from across the continent and beyond. I'm Thabiso, Lehoko, and tonight we will be bringing you the key stories shaping Africa's political, economic and social landscape. Stay tuned for insightful interviews, expert commentary and all the updates you need to know this Friday evening.
The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa and the United States are engaged in intensive negotiations following US President Donald Trump's decision to impose a 30% tariffs which come into effect today. South Africa's Department of Trade, Industry and Competition is preparing a counter-offer, with Ramaphosa indicating that Pretoria is seeking exemptions for certain products from new tariffs.
Let's be clear, South Africa is not the only country that is dealing with this crisis, and many other countries, some of which are in a much worse situation than we are.
Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo have held their first joint oversight committee meeting to advance a Washington-brokered peace deal despite delays in fulfilling some commitments. The African Union, Qatar and the US attended the session in Washington. Joey Lehoko reports.
In the Washington agreement, the two African countries pledged to implement a 2024 deal that would see Rwandan troops withdraw from eastern Congo within 90 days. It also said Congo and Rwanda would form a joint security coordination mechanism within 30 days and implement a plan agreed last year to monitor and verify the withdrawal of Rwandan soldiers within 3 months. 30 days from the signing has passed without a meeting of the joint security coordination mechanism, and operations targeting the FDLR and the withdrawal of Rwandan soldiers have yet to begin.
The SADC region is preparing to host its 45th Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government this month in Antananarivo, Madagascar. It's a milestone for the island nation, which joined SADC in August 2005. The summit will focus on deepening regional integration and boosting industrial capacity and value chains. Kylie Kumalo has more.
During the summit, President of Madagascar, Andry Rajoelina, will take over as the chairperson of SADC. He will succeed Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa. The gathering will review progress in the implementation of the SADC Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan. They will consider the reports from the chairperson of the Organ and Politics, Defense and Security Corporation.
The US President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has arrived in Gaza to inspect widely criticized aid sites that Israel and America back. The United Nations says more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed while seeking food since May. The BBC's Emi Nada reports.
This morning, unconfirmed footage posted on social networks shows a motorcade inside what appears to be a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution site in southern Gaza's Rafah area. The GHF's militarized distribution method continues to provoke international outrage. Steve Witkoff is expected to meet local Gazans and push Israel for more food aid to enter the territory. Latest figures published by the UN report that at least 859 Palestinians have been killed near GHF aid sites since it replaced the UN-led food distribution model in May.
The former South Korean president, currently in detention, has resisted attempts to take him out of his prison cell by lying on the floor wearing just his underwear. Yoon Suk-yeol is in prison after being charged with insurrection following his failed bid to impose martial law. The BBC's Mickey Bristow has the details.
Mr. Yoon refused to leave his cell when prosecutors tried to take him away for questioning. He took off his prison uniform and stripped down to his vest and underpants and then laid on the floor. Investigators say next time they could use force to get him out. Mr. Yoon's lawyer said that revealing details about the incident was an insult to the former president's dignity.
A top EU court has ruled that member states can't label a country as safe for the repatriation of asylum seekers if it doesn't protect all of its people. The decision comes after Italy transferred 2 Bangladeshi citizens to a detention centre in Albania where their asylum claims were rejected. The BBC's Guy Deloney has the details.
The European Court of Justice hasn't ruled that Italy's so-called asylum outsourcing arrangement is illegal, but it has made it more complicated to operate. Only people from designated safe countries of origin may have their asylum claims processed in Albania. Italy's government tried to work around this by declaring that countries like Bangladesh and Egypt were indeed safe. But the European Court ruled that this must be subject to judicial review, and judges said that a country may not be designated safe unless it offers sufficient protection to its entire population.
Peru's President Dina Boluarte has rejected an order of the Inter-American Court of Human Rights to suspend a controversial amnesty. The legislation grants amnesty to police and military personnel convicted of rights violations during the bloody campaign against leftist guerrilla groups between 1980 and 2000. Boluarte says Peru is a sovereign nation that will impose any interference from the court.
No somos colonia de nadie.
We are not anyone's colony, and we will not allow the intervention of the Inter-American Court, which seeks to suspend a bill aimed at delivering justice for the members of our armed forces, our national police, and the self-defense committees who risked their lives fighting against the madness of terrorism.
In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Tulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Tulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Channel Africa, where every moment is an African celebration. Feel the energy, feel the connection. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Members of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign have staged a protest outside the British consulate in Cape Town. They're demanding that the United Kingdom withdraw their support to Israel, accusing them and the United States of being accomplices in what they call genocide against the people of Palestine. The protest action is part of a nationwide action to pressure countries to withdraw support for Israel and to stop supplying them with arms and diplomatic cover. Thabiso reports.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
They braved the cold Cape Town weather. They hoisted Palestine flags and placards decrying famine and bombings of the innocent in Gaza. After more than 2 hours of a peaceful protest in front of the Rubik Street office, they were ready to hand over the memorandum. But there was no one from the consulate side. Protest organizer Professor Yusuf Chikte addressed the crowd that they followed all protocols of organizing the protest.
We've alerted the City Council. We told them that we are going to see the UK consulate here in Cape Town. For some or other reason, the UK consulate is closed in Cape Town today. And I heard you say something like, open it, open it. Are you saying it again? Open the doors, open the doors, open the doors.
Professor Chikte read out the memorandum.
We are going to nail this memorandum against these walls over here, and this is what it reads. We write to express our grave concern over the United Kingdom government's ongoing complicity in Israel's genocidal assault on Gaza and its broader regime of apartheid and military occupation. The recent statement about recognizing a Palestine in September, these are empty words and do nothing to
Megan
stop the
Horitz of the
slaughter
South African
of
Jews for a
Palestinians
Free
today.
Palestine
The
is
UK
calling
is
for all
complicit,
nations to support the people of
past and
Palestine.
The UK are supporting the genocide and are complicit in the genocide. But we want them to know that they stand on notice and we know what they're doing. And they are causing a genocide, ethnic cleansing and starvation.
They say this is a national protest action with similar protests at other embassies in the country. The British embassy in Cape Town was, however, locked with the security at the complex, saying the designated spokesperson is currently overseas. I'm Thabiso in Cape Town.
The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to deepen, with aid severely restricted and food insecurity reaching catastrophic levels. Human Rights Watch has accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war, a serious charge under international law. Several companies and the Israeli military have since responded to these allegations. To help us understand what's at stake, we're joined now by Ahmed Benchemzi, Advocacy and Communications Director for Human Rights Watch's Middle East and North Africa Division. Good evening and welcome to Channel Africa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Can you start giving us a sense of what Human Rights Watch is seeing on the ground in Gaza, especially in terms of food and access to aid?
Well, the latest report that we have issued today demonstrates that U.S.-backed Israeli forces, helped by U.S. Private contractors, have put in place a militarized aid distribution system in place of the one that was in place before, led by the UN and humanitarian organizations, that effectively turned aid distributions into bloodbaths. They routinely open fire, I'm talking about the Israeli forces here, they routinely open fire on starving people in acts that amount to war crimes. And the situation is more dire than ever. We have documented the use of Israel of starvation as a weapon of war, which is a war crime, more than a year ago. Well, we're confirming that that is still the case and at a much worse scale. Israel's continued intentional deprivation of basic services and aid amounts to a crime against humanity. It's called the crime of extermination and acts of genocide. As you can see here, I'm taking all the gravest words in the dictionary of violations of international law, because that's the situation we're in right now. In terms of famine, this is not Human Rights Watch talking, but the world's foremost experts on food insecurity. They're saying that we have reached the worst case scenario of famine that is currently playing out in Gaza. Famine is not a situation of which you necessarily die. You can have a weakened body, you cannot have access to essential, components, but the worst situation is where you simply start dying from it, and we have reached that case.
Your recent report says Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. That's a strong statement. Can you walk us through what you mean by that?
Well, they're cutting food, they're cutting water, they're cutting electricity, they're cutting, the raised orchard and agricultural fees. There's no way to raise any cattle now in Gaza. They have cut every entry of every humanitarian aid convoy, or very few of them. Now, they have let a trickle of it enter the territory, but it's extremely far from enough. That is orchestrating famine and as a weapon of war, and that is a war crime.
And in terms of international law, what does that amount to? Are we talking about potential war crimes here, in actual fact?
We are talking about a combination of war crimes, of crimes against humanity consisting in forced displacement and intentional deprivation of basic aid and basic services, of the war crime, of the international violation consisting in extermination, and we are also talking about acts of genocide. These are all legal characterizations that we have made in the past year, and we're confirming them today.
We've seen sharp responses to your report. For example, UG Solutions and others have denied involvement or responsibility. What's your response to that pushback?
Our response is that we have an extremely rigorous and precise methodology. We have interviewed, 10 people who were on the ground in Gaza in the recent month who have witnessed violence at or near air distribution sites. We have interviewed people who treated those injuries. We have interviewed a retired U.S. Army Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel who was a security contractor for one of those companies. We have analyzed videos and photographs that this individual took at the site, and we corroborated, we verified them with other sources of data. We spent hours and hours gathering and verifying the evidence that was provided to us. We also interviewed a foreign humanitarian worker. We interviewed 2 foreign doctors. We interviewed 6 witnesses to violent incidents. We analyzed satellite imagery at different spatial resolutions. We verified videos. We verified photographs. We viewed social media posts by that organization, the Israeli organization itself. And finally, we sent them letters. We sent letters to the Israeli military. We sent letters to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. We sent letters to each one of the 2 American contractors. So our methodology is extremely, extremely detailed and rigorous. And what do they say in response to all that? They issue a blanket denial without any specific detail. I'll let you judge what is more credible.
What kind of action are you calling for from the international community right now, especially bodies like the UN or the ICC?
Well, we are asking the U.S. Congress to require notifications of any additional funding destined for that group, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, because the U.S. has been funding it so far. They have given $30 million to this deeply flawed aid distribution operation. And we require the U.S. Congress to demand a report on how U.S. funds are being used. We also call all states in the world, pursuant to their obligations under the Genocide Convention, to leverage all the pressure that they can muster, that they can leverage, that they can inflict on the Israeli government, including targeted sanctions, arms embargoes, suspension of preferential trade agreements, to stop the Israeli authorities' ongoing atrocities. And we are demanding, even before all that they stop immediately this using lethal force as crowd control mechanism against Palestinian civilians. We ask Israel to lift immediately this unlawful, sweeping restriction on the entry of aid and suspend this very flawed distribution system that ended in a bloodbath.
Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Thank you.
That was Ahmed Ben Chemsi from Human Rights Watch giving us insight into the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the international responses so far.
The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks, telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and ultimate World Cup glory in 2019. Starting on the 13th of July at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2, tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache and the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC Plus anytime, anywhere. No subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC. Be there when history shines.
The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu masuala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
She builds, she leads, she rises. This August, join Channel Africa in celebrating the women who shape our communities, shift narratives, and carve out a future on their own terms.
These women together ought to be able to turn it right again.
From Cape Town to Kigali, Lagos to Lusaka, African women are rewriting the script. Here's to courage, creativity, and unstoppable progress. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
The South African Parliament has confirmed that the ad hoc committee established to investigate allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, around criminal infiltration and corruption in the police will start its work next week. Mkhwanazi implicated senior police members, including the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, of breaching national security by colluding with the criminal syndicates. Following these allegations, Parliament resolved to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate them within a period of 90 days. Mkhunu has been placed on special leave. Abongwe Kobokana reports.
The resolution of the National Assembly for the formation of an ad hoc committee has been based on the recommendations of the two joint Portfolio Committee of Police and the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development. They adopted a report recommending to the House that a temporal committee should be established to consider allegations pronounced by Mkhwanazi. The House adopted the recommendations and also set up the terms of reference for the work of the committee. Among other terms of reference is that the committee investigate the alleged decision by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team. Head of the Communications in Parliament, Mulotho Muthapo, said the committee is expected to work against the clock.
So this committee is supposed to report by no later than the 31st of October 2025. So they've got about 3 months within which to undertake this investigation into the allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And because of the tight time frames within which they have to work, they have to hit the ground running. So it is expected that by next week, the committee will have its first meeting, elect the chairperson that will chair the proceedings, and begin with his work.
All parties in Parliament will be proportionally represented on the ad hoc committee. The ANC consists of its chief whip, Dumiseni Nduli, Kusela Sangoni, Molapi, Likhanyane, and Xola Ngola. The DA will have Ian Cameron and Glenis Breitenbach. Sibonelo Nomvalo and David Skosana will be representing the MK party. The AFF will be represented by its leader Julius Malema, and the IFP and PA will be represented by Mangaqa Mcwango and Ashley Souls respectively, while the Freedom Front Plus has deployed voter vessels. Parliament says no decision has been taken yet about whether the findings of its investigation on the allegations made by Mkhwanazi will form part or not in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Mulotho again.
No, it may be shared, but that will be the decision of the National Assembly. You will know that in terms of the work that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry will be doing, they're supposed to submit their reports. But to an extent that if there is a need to assist with that, that is a decision that the institution will take.
The state of the South African economy, challenges facing the Government of National Unity and the South African Communist Party's decision to contest the future elections independently are set to top the agenda of the ANC National Executive Committee meeting taking place in Johannesburg this weekend. The four-day meeting, which started today and ending on Monday, also comes in the wake of spine-chilling revelations by KwaZulu-Natal Province Police Commissioner General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that some criminal syndicates have infiltrated the police. Ntebo Mukobo has more.
This is the third ANC-NEC meeting this year since the last gathering in March. The meeting was initially scheduled for last month but was postponed when the party's top brass, the National Working Committee members, travelled to the Western Cape where they've recorded the weakest electoral performance in the 2024 elections. Both domestic and global issues are up for discussions, with the state of the economy first on the agenda after President Cyril Ramaphosa's political overview, as Party Secretary General Fikile Mbalula explains.
We will also deal with the economic trajectory, the path forward, which will be presented by our ETC. This is a very important discussion today on the economy, given the state of the economy, unemployment and all of that. What is it as the ANC we are saying about the economy in order to enhance economic growth, to ensure that our economy performs better?
Mbalula also says a dedicated session has been arranged to discuss the challenges facing the GNU. This follows sharp differences and tension between major partners in the GNU, the ANC and the DA, which led to the DA walking out of the national dialogue. The second biggest party in the GNU pact has also vowed to vote against some budgets of ANC ministers that it deems corrupt. This has prompted some ANC members to call on President Cyril Ramaphosa to expel the DA from the GNU. But Mbalula insists despite their differences, the discussion on the GNU is not meant to review the pact, but to see how they can strengthen it.
Since we formed a government of national unity, what are the challenges that we are facing? And at the same time, what is it that needs to be done to strengthen the government of national unity? It's not about the review of the GNU, it's about the discussion of the GNU as an option we have taken. So there's no discussion that is premised on reviewing the GNU. If it is on the table, it will arise in the meeting and it will be interrogated strategically. The option we have taken, which is GNU, is still intact.
The SACP's decision to contest future elections independently is also set to top the agenda, with Mbalula saying despite the SACP going it alone, they have not yet cut ties with their traditional ally.
We've had a bilateral with the Communist Party. We've heard them what they say. We're going to report back here because this thing of contesting elections by the SACP is new in the context of the alliance. The National Executive Committee is seized with this matter and must give guidance. We have not arrived at the decision of dislocating ourselves from the SACP. Neither has the SACP done that. The SACP took a decision, but its implication in terms of the alliance are huge. And you know that as the ANC, we are opposed to that. We have had a by-elections 2 weeks back in Seshego. SACP fielded a candidate. Our structures on the ground are asking what should be our attitude in relation to this.
And although the ANC Secretary General says for now they are happy at the handling of the allegations raised by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, he insists NEC members are still free to raise it during their 4-day meeting.
Lieutenant Mkhwanazi's allegations have been processed. In the political overview and in the discussion throughout the day, comrades can reflect as well as to what do they think should actually happen. Here is what we have endorsed and is now unfolding. We have a Minister of Police, Kachalia. 2, we've got a Commission of Inquiry that is going to be operational with clear terms of reference. We have endorsed that. Should there be new ideas in relation to the way forward, we'll report. If comrades want to come with new ideas and the National Executive Committee, they are free to do so. But as the NWC, we have already endorsed what government have taken as steps to respond to General Mkhwanazi.
On Saturday, ANC delegates will discuss the Kgalema Motlanthe report on the selection of candidates for the 2026 local government elections, amongst others. I am Tebo Mokobo in Johannesburg.
The Economic Community of West African States, better known as ECOWAS, has faced major tests in recent years. Military coups have stalled regional integration and growing pressure to defend democracy across the region. Since July 2022, a new leadership team has been steering the bloc with the promises of reform and shared prosperity. But with their term set to end in July 2026, how much progress has really been made? And what challenges still lie ahead? To unpack that, we're joined from London by Global Affairs analyst Paul Ejime. Good evening, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Thabiso, for having me.
Paul, it's been just over 2 years since the current ECOWAS leadership came in. Would you say the region is in a better or a worse place today?
Yeah, actually, 3 years going to 4 because the mandate of the commission is usually the new president and then vice president and then 5 commissioners is 4 years. So they started in July 2022, like you said. It's been, a roller coaster kind of progress or movement, if you ask me. Because remember, this commission headed by Gambian diplomat and development expert Dr. Umar Aliu Ture came in inheriting the fact that by 2020 the military coup had happened in Mali, and then followed by Guinea and then Burkina Faso, and lately, and then lastly Niger. So already the coup bug has already beaten the region, and in quick succession, the 4 countries followed in. So that was the context. I mean, I think it's good to put it in context that was when the Toure-led commission management took over. And it's been one mixed step or the other, particularly in handling the military coup in Niger. I think ECOWAS, they were kind of trying to make sure that they roll back on this, but in the process, mistakes were made because they didn't follow the protocols in trying to arrest the situation in Niger. Instead of following protocol in using some soft carrot, what we call carrot and stick. They came with the stick, the heavy stick, wanting to use military intervention, which was unpopular. And what it did was that now it toughened the position of the coup makers, that so much so that 3 of the countries decided to leave ECOWAS: Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The junta there formed what they call the Alliance of Sahel states. And so they have left. Efforts are still being made to bring them back. But ECOWAS is still struggling from the past more than a decade from this issue of insecurity, peace, and then governance. The fact that democracy appeared to be on the decline, not being consolidated, because the civilians, the politicians, were routinely violating the constitutions of their countries or changing them, and then rigging elections, changing a lot of things that were in violation of ECOWAS protocols. And ECOWAS found itself incapable or unable to arrest the situation or call these leaders call them to order. And that was what actually led to this the military takeovers. But this is not to say that military rule is the answer to governance in Africa or West Africa. But because the civilians have failed to play by the rules, the military now saw that as an excuse. It remains to be seen whether they will provide a solution, because we have seen it. They will, after all this rigmarole of transition, they will still go back and hold elections, maybe perpetuate themselves in power. The reason the 3 countries left is really because they do not want ECOWAS to call them, to question, because they know that ECOWAS has this protocol on what is it called? Lack of, unconstitutional change of governments. There is a protocol on that, a protocol on supplementary protocol on democracy and good governance. It has a zero tolerance for change of government other than through constitutional means. But again, like I said, the civilians to themselves, it's not only military rule that is change of government, unconstitutional. The civilians have been engaging in constitutional coups themselves and then ballot coups. So it's a case of the kettle calling whatever black. So it's a muddled up something situation.
So Paul, what would it take for ECOWAS to actually claim its rightful position in that region? Because for some time now, we are aware of the political instability besetting the West and, obviously other superpowers emerging, coming in. So, we see a lot of division. And what would it take for ECOWAS to really become that staunch body in the region?
So it will take a visionary leadership. It will take dynamic leadership. It will take leaders holding on to principle stance. That was what how ECOWAS managed to distinguish itself from all the other, 7 regional economic communities. Because let's face it, today ECOWAS is being judged by its own standard that it set, which was that it was the one regional economic community that was ahead of the others in terms of conflict prevention, management, and resolution. It was able to settle wars, end wars in Liberia and Sierra Leone, in Cote d'Ivoire, and then also had dealt with military coups in the past. But like I said, this erosion of leadership for the past, it wasn't so sudden. It took a while, gradually, and also given the situation in the international ecosystem, the shift, geopolitical shift, and then with terrorism and all the other threats that have came to disrupt, international peace, which ought to have given the leadership, it was a warning that this is the time. Generals are not made during peacetime. It is actually during wartime. So the leadership of ECOWAS ought to have reinvented themselves to be able to take on these challenges and not be found wanting. What has happened is that after performing to a very top level, the leaders dropped the ball by not, for instance, in Cote d'Ivoire, I think this was where it started. Cote d'Ivoire, the President Ouattara changed the constitution in 2016. And this year, he is going for what is called 4th term, and that in ECOWAS situation, region, they call it 3rd term syndrome. After he did that, Guinea, the president there, Alpha Conde, did it, and so on and so forth. Others have followed. In Senegal, Macky Sall wanted to try it, but he was kicked out. In Togo, Yadema is also trying that. In fact, he has changed the constitution, and the country is now running from presidential to parliamentary. Now he's the president of the Council of Ministers without term limitation. In Guinea-Bissau, the same thing. President Mbalo has suspended the constitution. The parliament is not working, and then there is no electoral commission. Is not, and then the judiciary is also, under suspended animation. Or are you going to talk about the Gambia? Gambia, where you had a problem, there was an election in 2016 that the former president, Yahya Jammeh, had ruled the Gambia for 22 years under a dictatorship. But after he held an election in December 2016, he said he wasn't going to leave after the election results showed that he had lost. The man who took over, Adama Barrow, who was not on the ballot, but because the main opposition leaders then were in jail, they have been jailed by Yahya Jammeh. He took over, promised to run for 3 years. He ran for 5 years and has done 10 years. And next year, he's focusing on continuing by using the same constitution that Yahya Jammeh used. So these are the inconsistencies and violations that have made governance and leadership in ECOWAS, a very laborious and difficult situation that the citizens, more than 400 million of them, are no longer feeling the impact, whether at the national level or at the regional level. So it will require, some tough handling, dynamism, leaders at the commission, maybe after the Ture commission from July next year. So if they have a set of technocrats that will be able to, grab the bull by the horn and start to speak to the leaders, because it's the leaders that are causing these disruptions.
Still
and
on
all
the
these
thought of the leaders, Paul. Yeah. Still on the thought of the leaders. Here's another one that had been alarming, especially in this week, and even in the past week. Later on, we heard news that President Alassane Ouattara and Cameroon's President Paul Biya would like to run for another term. How does that affect ECOWAS, as well as given their age and isn't it that the world has shifted right now, whereby young people should be actually put at the helm and start being the ones that run the leadership process?
Well, that is what is promised, or what the politicians will tell you. But in reality, it's a different matter. Even now, Alassane Ouattara himself, when he was running for the third term, said it was time to give opportunity to the younger ones. But instead, he went back on his words and ran for the third term. He's 83. And then he has indicated just this week, like you said, that he's running. When the country goes, I think it's in October or something, he is going to run. And these are the questions that, but it's not really about whether their age or whatever. It is the fact that they are sit-tight presidents. They do not even when they are not performing. Well, in fairness to Alassane Ouattara, you will say that Côte d'Ivoire has, achieved some, development. But that is not the issue. You are not the only one. In a country of millions of people, democracy or whatever you call it, free, it's a free choice. Because when they do that, they stifle opposition. Either they are jailed or they are technically knocked out. That is what happens. Why don't you make it free for everybody to participate instead of, trampling on opposition or jailing them or making them to flee from the country? Paul Biya is not in ECOWAS, he's in Central Africa. But that is a common disease in Africa, where sit-tight syndrome, corruption is leading, and then nepotism or, favoring your own family and then a clique when the majority of the people are suffering. So that is why this disaffection is what is causing, the problem. You have protests. It is when these civilians now protest and then they come heavy on them using military force to quell them. That is when the military will now come. So you will say, well, military is not wanted. But when you make peaceful change impossible, you are only cutting violent change. And who are the victims are really the citizens of this country, because some of them will die. These people that we are talking about, the political class, they have maybe dual citizenship. As soon as there is crisis, they run away. Their children or families are outside the country. Some of them even go out for medical checkups.
And we've seen
because
that
they
trend.
have not
We've seen
provided.
that trend, Paul. We've actually seen the trend coming out of the West. Now, with the current leadership's term ending in July 2026, what would you say are the top priorities that they need to tackle before then?
In ECOWAS, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. What will happen is that ECOWAS, they will now have to look at the kind of people that they are going to bring to the commission. Commission is a 7-member commission that will be made up of the president, the vice president, and then about 5 commissioners. So these are, because the commission is the one to provide guidance to the authority of heads of state. If the politicians are not following the rule, the protocol, the instruments, the text of ECOWAS, it is the duty of whoever is heading the commission to call the attention to it, because you cannot be violating your own rule. And the people at the commission are saying, but in fairness to them too, these politicians are ramming it over, on the head of. You need somebody who is independent thinking, and we have had some of them before in the past who were able to, for instance, decide that ECOWAS will not send observers to an election because the environment was not conducive to democracy. So that is the kind of, ECOWAS needs redemption. This is the time to really take it out of that morass and bring it to the level where it used to be, where everybody, I can tell you, Thabiso, do you know that every country or international organizations, when they accredit their ambassadors to Nigeria, they do is concurrent to ECOWAS. It shows that ECOWAS has been doing something good, but there is a lot that can be done in terms of harmonization of the rules, the free movement, and then central, customs union, and if they are also to benefit from the, African continental free zone, the trade that will come from there. ECOWAS needs to get its act together through effective leadership, through proactive leadership, through leadership that will stick to the law, through leadership that will care about the people and not themselves.
Definitely, Paul. Definitely, Paul. I know, Paul, one thing about ECOWAS, you and I can go on and on and on, and I truly appreciate your time this evening. But lastly, before I let you go, Paul, congratulations, Paul Agyeman. We extend our heartfelt congratulations to you on winning the ECOWAS Maiden Journalist Excellence Award in the print journalism category. Now, this prestigious honor is a testament to your decades-long dedication, Paul, to ethical reporting, compelling storytelling, and your unwavering commitment to truth and regional development. Your work continues to inspire journalists across Africa and beyond. Well done on this well-deserved recognition, Paul.
Thank you very much. I am humbled, and it means to do more. And I tell my colleagues that it's a collective honor that journalists will have a role to hold leaders accountable. Thank you very much for your kind words.
Thank you, Paul, for your time this evening. That was a Global Affairs Analyst, Paul Agyeman, sharing insights on ECOWAS progress and ongoing challenges under its current leadership.
The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa. The pulse of the continent in 60 minutes. Stay informed and inspired with Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
South Africa's Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Sindisiwe Chikunga, has launched the Women Trade Intervention Dialogue, marking the start of the 2025 Women's Month celebrations. This year's theme is Building Resilient Economies for All. Women's Month in South Africa, observed every August, honors the historic 1956 march by over 20,000 women to the union buildings to protect apartheid past laws. Channel Africa's Nhlanhla Mahlangu reports.
Launched in collaboration with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gauteng Provincial Government, Standard Bank South Africa and Absa Bank, the Women in Trade intervention will focus on 3 priorities, which are the support of the survival of informal economy across identified key economic sectors, the identification of key sectoral interventions, including agriculture, manufacturing and the green energy sector, as well as calling for collaboration and leveraging of sector agreements to increase investments in local economies. Minister Chikunga led a roundtable session which focused on de-risking financial inclusion of and for women, aimed at equipping women with business skills, market knowledge and access to the African continental free trade area opportunities.
Today, building on the legacy of 1956, our transformation agenda is much more daring to the patriarchal script. Our agenda is rooted in centuries of systemic exclusion that relegated women to subordinate positions across virtually every sphere of human dignity. Women yesterday could not sign their own consents. Women yesterday could not own property. Women yesterday could not inherit anything. These are the things we need not to forget when we speak about women empowerment. We should not forget where we come from.
The event saw an exhibition of women-owned businesses. Amanda Mbanga from Alma Cosmetics is one of them. She says she's hoping to grow her business.
It's networking, obviously, with other women in business and collaborations as well. That's what we are hoping to achieve. And of course, new clientele and new agents in our company. I think it's a very great initiative that they have started for us to help us grow, to help us be visible, to help us take space as well.
Katlego Lebele from Kev's Lifestyle says she hopes for the exposure of a business.
We make wooden pendant lamps made of wood, and we do also different materials like perspex, and I also make candles as well and the candle vessels. It will be obviously to open up the market for me, for exposure, so that people can know who I am and expose me to the market. The challenges I'm having is capacity. I currently don't have capacity. I'm working alone on creating these beautiful masterpieces. So that is the biggest challenge for me.
Iris Khosana from Iris Exclusive Jewelry says she's hoping to grow her business.
This is a great opportunity, I must say, because it exposes my product to different markets. When we have exhibitions, obviously government departments, a lot of potential, business potential we get from this, because we get a lot of exposure and possible collaborations as well with other like-minded businesses.
The Women Trade Intervention forms part of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities G20 priorities on financial inclusion, which includes ensuring women access to financial services, digital tools, credit entrepreneurship opportunities, with the purpose of dismantling barriers that prevent women from fully participating in the financial system and achieving economic independence. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Nhlanhla Mahlangu in Johannesburg.
Pink Drive, in collaboration with Rio Tinto, is launching an expanded mobile healthcare screening initiative across South Africa's 3 provinces. According to the National Cancer Registry, 65% of all natural deaths in South Africa are now attributed to non-communicable diseases, and many of these are preventable with early detection and access to care. Tudongabeni has the report.
In a bid to address the challenges posed by non-communicable diseases, NCD's non-profit organization Pink Drive, in collaboration with global mining group Rio Tinto, launched an expanded mobile healthcare screening initiative across South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape provinces. The campaign aims to bring free on-the-ground cancer and general health screenings to South Africans who would otherwise not have access to these life-saving services. Basic health care remains out of reach for many citizens as the cost of living rises. This results in NCDs like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes silently claiming lives. Nolene Cochin, Chief Executive and founder of Pink Drive NPC, says their mobile clinics offer screenings and general health checks.
We're proud to partner again with Rio Tinto and the provincial health departments to launch a major outreach campaign this August and September in KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, the Northern Cape, and in Mpumalanga. Our mobile units will offer free mammograms, clinical breast examinations, HPV screening, pap smears, PSA tests for the men, skin and lung cancer screenings, and general health checks by qualified health professionals. These services are for everyone in the outreach areas who are medically uninsured.
Early screening for NCDs is crucial for effective management and prevention. This leads to the reduction of major risk factors like tobacco use, unhealthy diet, and physical inactivity that can help prevent or delay significant ill health and deaths from NCDs. Cochin says they aim to reach 12,000 individuals and has encouraged people in those areas to come through to these mobile clinics.
Last year, we screened almost 7,500 people in just 2 weeks. This year, we aim to reach over 12,000 individuals, helping to reduce late-stage cancer diagnosis and prolong more lives. We encourage everyone in these areas to visit our mobile clinics. Early detection can make a vital difference.
For Channel Africa News, I am Tutongobene in Johannesburg.
And I'm Thabiso Lehoko, had been standing in for Thabiso Makweta on Africa World Hour. Thanks for listening to Channel Africa. The show comes to an end right now, and up next it's The Heartlines. Always enjoy being with you.
Channel Africa, where every moment is an African celebration. Feel the energy, feel the connection. Channel Africa, the African perspective.